afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the April 2016 episode of Out of the Vault. As always, if you'd like to take a look at all the other classics that I have reviewed, please take a look at the playlist provided in the box below. So today, we are going to talk about a Disney classic that for a very long time was near and dear to my heart. It was one of the best Disney films that I ever saw from a theatrical experience, and it just has some of the most memorable characters for me. And that, of course, is Disney's 31st animated classic from 1992, Aladdin. The story of a boy from the streets in an Arabian town named Agrabah, and all of a sudden is roped into a major treasure hunt done by an evil sorcerer to find a magic lamp that is supposed to grant the person, whoever is the master of whatever is inside the lamp, everything that he or she has always wanted. And there's also a little love story with a princess thrown in there because it's a Disney film, why not? So when I first saw this movie, I was going on 11 years old, and this was also the time where I was starting to develop a very interesting take on films. I was starting to appreciate who the actors were, I was starting to appreciate how movies were made, so of course, one of the main reasons why I really wanted to see this movie was the fact that Robin Williams and Gilbert Gottfried were playing characters in this film. And needless to say, I had so much fun with that movie, and it was one of my favorite movies for years. So I actually did go out and buy this movie without seeing it in years, and now that I've finally seen it for the first time since my teen years, I think the last time I saw it I was 14 years old, 15 years old, I can now talk about this movie. Feel free to throw some hate in the comments because I am a little disappointed with my feelings towards this film now. Oh, I still enjoy this movie to a great extent, but there are just a couple of things in this film that do not hold up. Let me tell you what does hold up. Robin Williams as the genie. I mean, God rest his soul, he is just one of the greatest people to ever lend his voice to a Disney classic. Iago the Parrot, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried. Still love him, and now that I saw him, I kind of enjoy his character even more, just because of, even though there were other voices when he was trying to do impressions of other characters, the fact that he was a character that was trying to make fun of others just was a real treat for me. That this was one of the Disney films from a comedic perspective to break the fourth wall, to use pop culture references, to just make you laugh, was absolutely awesome. And one of the other things that I really was surprised about is, after not seeing this movie for a while, how much I really appreciate Jasmine's father in this movie, the Sultan, because even though he is completely clueless, if there's one thing that I will say that is a real redeeming quality is how much he cares for his daughter, and how he just wants to make sure that she is happy. And that's one of the other things that we noticed in the Disney Renaissance films. King Triton, Belle's father Maurice, these were just father figures that really, even though they may have knocked their daughters down a peg, or did things their daughters did not necessarily agree with, they just still understood that they loved them and just didn't want them to get hurt. But now that I've seen this movie now, there's a couple of things that I don't like about this movie anymore. One of them is the fact that the jokes are a little outdated. Oh yeah, they are still funny, but when you watch this movie in a day like today, they're just not going to hold up. Another thing that I was very upset about in this movie is the insta-love between Aladdin and Jasmine. When you take a look at the Disney Renaissance films like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, you know for a solid fact that time went by in order for these relationships to blossom between the prince and the princess. However, in just a couple of hours, Aladdin and Jasmine are in love when he's a street rat. Aladdin and Jasmine fall in love when he's Prince Ali after one night. How is that possible? It happened in old Disney movies in the past, but that's just the whole fairy tale thing. But now we were in a time where things were trying to be developed in terms of character, and that's another thing that I really didn't like about this movie. The characters were not as well developed as some of the other movies from the recent past. There's just not much depth to them, and I kind of feel that that's where the movie falls a little flat. Also, Jafar is not the strongest villain that I would expect him to be. Now, there are some Disney villains out there that are not ever the strongest and are never taken seriously, like Captain Hook from Peter Pan or Prince John from Robin Hood, but the difference is there's a little bit of a comedic spin on them. This is just a villain that's way too serious, doesn't really have any comedic moments, even though Iago is there, but that's just Iago being Iago, and it's awesome. Jafar is just too serious, and he's just not taken seriously. And one of the other things that I know that people are gonna be so mad about, I don't really like the songs anymore. I'm sorry. A Whole New World, Friend Like Me, they're good songs, but when you compare them to some of those other really great Disney classic songs, especially for the Disney Renaissance period, they just are not as great. But is this movie bad? No, I still enjoy this movie. This movie is still in my top 5 Disney films of all time. It's really because of the fact that Robin Williams is just doing what he does best, and he just makes me laugh. And the movie as a whole still is a fun watch. So I am going to be giving Aladdin 3 out of 4. I'm really hoping to have a good conversation, possibly a debate with all of you, so please put your comments in the box below and let's have a good discussion about Aladdin. And I'll see you in the next Out of the Vault. Actions speak louder than words.